show you how much the Trump administration cares about keeping the country safe, check out who they just appointed to lead the Department of Homeland Security's, one of their hubs for terrorism prevention. This guy. This is 22-year-old Thomas Fugate, who literally graduated from college last year. And according to his LinkedIn, the bulk of his leadership experience comes from his participation in a club that simulates the United Nations. I am not kidding. Nothing wrong with those clubs, but you're not ready to be in charge of a counterterrorism hub a year later. But pivotally, no threat prevention experience is listed in his employment history. So what exactly made Mr. Fugate right for the role? As ProPublica put it in a new piece, Fugate brings a different qualification prized by the White House: loyalty to the president. On Instagram, Mr. Fugate traced his political awakening to 2016, which, by the way, he was 13 years old, where he said, quote, "In a generation deprived of hope, opportunity, and happiness, I saw in one man the capacity for real and lasting change, Donald Trump." Meanwhile, we as a country have seen plenty of actual extremist violence recently. I mean, an arson attack on the governor of Pennsylvania's home, a mass shooting at Florida State University, a car bombing at a fertility clinic in California, 2 Israeli embassy aides shot dead outside a Jewish museum in Washington, a firebombing attack in Colorado. All of that happened in just the last 2 months. And now, the guy in charge of one of the offices tasked with preventing extremist violence like that is this 22-year-old.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. This is what happens when the President of the United States places loyalty to himself above loyalty to the country. You get a 22-year-old with no anti-terrorism credentials placed in charge of a critical anti-terrorism agency. But at this point, is anyone surprised? The parade of incompetence that makes up the Trump regime makes you wonder if it's not intentional. We've talked about that here in a few recent episodes, the idea of engineered incompetence as a way of making government functionaries completely dependent upon their leader in the White House. The one relationship that might have challenged this pattern was Musk and Trump. But as we are discovering, even Musk, with all his billions, could not win Trump's loyalty. And so they are now tearing each other apart, as many of us predicted they would. And while there has been a great deal of well-deserved schadenfreude from our side, we'd be remiss to overlook the danger that their alliance and their inevitable breakup poses to the rest of us. I asked audience favorites Dan Barkhuff, a former Navy SEAL, founder of Vets for Responsible Leadership, and now an ER doctor, and my frequent guest host here, Bobby Jones, a former Navy Task Group commander, to weigh in on this largely overlooked aspect of the Trump-Musk drama. Here they are.
I don't know if anybody's really talked about the ramifications of what's happening here. If you start to pull the thread back, you're talking about a man that Donald Trump single-handedly made the decision to bring into his fold and give him unfettered access to the federal government. We've had reports here recently about his high drug use. We've had reports about all the different agencies he targeted that targeted his businesses. All of this has happened here in the last, 48 hours of people pulling the thread back. Why does this matter? Because national security and international security are now at stake.
Absolutely. So here's the deal, guys. Elon Musk is kind of by a lot at this point, the richest man in the world. Mm-hmm. He has immense power. He bought a social media platform that was really pretty instrumental ever since 2016. But 2016, 2020, things happened on Twitter. Politics happened on Twitter. Twitter had a huge impact on the election. And Musk puts his finger on the scales and has Twitter essentially algorithms make it so they're pro-Trump, they're pro-MAGA, they're getting Republican candidates elected. Now the bromance is over. They're fighting, okay? They're fighting over the bill, Trump's tax bill, which the Republicans need to pass. They need to do something because right now their legacy is thus far in the first term is tariffs, right? Which are wildly unpopular. But Trump and Musk fighting like, preteen boys is a real problem for national security folks and for the United States of America. So Trump brought Musk into the White House. At one point they were talking about Pete Hegseth, another idiot, was talking about giving Musk a classified briefing at a top secret level on war plans with China.
Yes.
War plans with China, top secret level for a guy who is on drugs by multiple accounts, multiple credible accounts, people surrounded him. He is taking ketamine. Now, I'm going to back up for a second, put on my doctor hat, and tell you guys a little bit about ketamine. Ketamine is a dissociative agent that is used in surgeries. I use it as a physician in the emergency department. If you come in and you've got a broken leg and we need to pull on it to, get it straight so we can put it in the splint, we'll give you a ketamine sedation and you go off to dreamland and, we get all set up as if, you're going to stop breathing. And, we take all these safety measures to try and make that experience as safe as possible. It's a great drug in that context. So maybe about 10 years ago, people started talking about using ketamine for the treatment of depression. And the racemic form of ketamine was actually approved by the FDA for some treatments of depression. And it is thought that there's a treatment benefit for depression, much like similar to other psychedelic agents, which are not FDA approved, but that have been in the popular press, psilocybin, these other things. So Musk is taking ketamine every day. And I'm just going to tell you, that is not how it's supposed to go. Your treatments for depression with ketamine, there was one study and, spacing it out over the course of a couple of weeks. Maybe you take a ketamine treatment for, once every couple of weeks for the short-term treatment of depression. This is not like hey, every day you just take some ketamine, right? That is an insane. There's also reports, the Wall Street Journal has reported that he's using MDMA, ecstasy, the street name. He's used coke in the past. The one drug he doesn't seem to like is marijuana, even though he smoked it on Joe Rogan's show. So let's talk about the implications of a drug addict.
Right.
Also the richest man in the world and is very impulsive. And he's got by the way, he talks to Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping on a regular basis. So, Bobby, what do you?
So, are we serious?
What happened when you had a sailor, who had a hot urinalysis? He blew some coke at ported Subic Bay or whatever.
The first thing that would happen in the United States military is if that happens, you pull their clearance and their weapons access, both. Immediately, as you get ready to out-process them out, historically speaking, you remove them from them because you can't trust their judgment, and you definitely cannot trust if they keep their mouth shut. Because if they are addicts, then the information that they have had access to now can go to the highest bidder based on the addiction. That is the problem.
Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping your and your family's personal information from data broker websites. And they send you regular personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, and what they removed. I care a lot about my personal privacy, and I think hard about ways to protect myself and my family online. The threats these days are very real. Identity theft, harassment, doxing. Delete Me can help. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan by texting Ken to 64000. The only way to get 20% off is to text KEN to 64,000. That's KEN to 64000. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, it's Ken Harbaugh. Huge shout out to everyone who has supported this show via our Patreon page. If you want to weigh in with questions for upcoming guests or give us feedback on past guests or make sure you never miss an episode, click the link below. It's free to sign up. And if you're able to pitch in a few bucks a month, just know that we put every dollar back into the show. We do have another reporting trip to Ukraine coming up. Thanks for the help.
And so now you're talking about we let this guy, and I mean we, the United States government, i.e. Donald John Trump, gave him unfettered access into people's personal information, into their tax fund. I mean, you name it, they had access. But then it went into the military too. Now, let's just think about what Ukraine pulled off with Operation Spiderweb, all of these things, and how they have to keep everything close hold because they can't trust the United States government because Musk was given unfettered access. Trump loves to run off at the mouth. All of these things are coming to a head right now. And so the Twitter beef that we're seeing right now is the tip of the iceberg. Musk can say what he's saying because he now knows where the bodies are buried. Right. And if you've noticed, it has split the MAGA right in a way where you have people who normally talk are shutting up and people who usually don't say much are speaking up, and they're all going at each other. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, while they're having this infighting, the world is less stable. Now, like you said, how do we know that he hasn't talked to Xi about providing Starlink coverage over Taiwan? How do we not know that he's not talked to Putin about no Starlink coverage over Ukraine? The whole thing shifts because we have these two manic personalities that have unfettered access to the most powerful military and most powerful resources in the world.
That's a great way to say it. You know, these guys are both unstable. They're unstable, and we're living in a time in which there's a shooting war in Ukraine. There's a shooting war in Gaza. There's tension over the Strait of Taiwan. These are not easy times, and right now we now have a massive national security risk that Donald Trump created by bringing Elon Musk into the security circle.
This is so next level. I mean, this sounds like something out of a Mission Impossible movie where you have these manic personalities that want to run the world now at odds. And now the whole world is caught in the crossfire. The other piece of this that makes no sense to me is when you look at the social media reaction to this social media thing, you have people who are in that MAGA group who are like, you two shouldn't be fighting in public. Do it behind closed doors. They're mad that it makes them look bad. Instead of talking about this is serious. Number one, what if Musk is correct with the Epstein files allegation? Let's just start there from an ethical and moral standpoint. And then if he's willing to say that, if he's willing to do that, what else is he going to unveil in the public sphere that could possibly compromise United States, allies, and worldwide security? We don't know. Why? Because Trump was foolish enough not only to give this man access, the man moved into Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. You know, where famously they kept classified documents down there too.
I bet Elon Musk knows stuff that you and I, who had legitimate top secret SCI clearances, have no
clue on. No clue on.
And the guy's on ketamine every day.
Right. And that's assuming we're talking about what he's on. We don't know what Trump is on because the medical documentation for him has been a lie since he started doing public office.
Whoa. Bobby, Trump runs the 40 in 4.6. He's got a 38-inch vertical. And
Man.
He 225 20 times in a row. Yeah, it's wild times, guys. But, again, it is Donald Trump not taking governance seriously and bringing in just ridiculous people.
Unqualified clowns.
Pete Hegseth.
Clowns.
Elon Musk. These are clowns. Aldrich Ames had a drinking problem, and it led to dozens of American assets being killed in Russia. And Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, who can pick up his phone and call whoever he wants anytime he wants, is now in a beef with the
Speaking of which, one last point, when you talk about unqualified clowns, did you see that they put in charge of domestic terrorism, the task force there, a 22-year-old who was on his professional resume was a gardener and a grocery bagger. He's in charge of the response in U.S. Homeland Security of dealing with domestic terrorism. 22 years old. 22 years old, man. You shouldn't be in charge of anything. Like when you're 22. Well, I was 22 once. I should not have been in charge. And, so anyway, well, guys, thanks for checking us out. Check us out further on the Dunk podcast on Valor Media Network. And thanks for listening. This is insane. Don't forget about the national security implications of having a South African billionaire who's high on ketamine all the time knowing our national secrets. Wow. Thanks, guys.
New Meidas merch drop. Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.meidastouch.com.